Yesterday, a man shot, and thus far, one of the two National Guard's persons has passed away, a woman. Initially, it was reported that both were killed by the mayor of DC, I think, which was kind of an odd detail to get wrong while making a statement like that. One has now, her family has said she's not going to survive. These are not injuries that are susceptible of surviving. And the other man who was shot is in apparently critical but stable condition. We're going to go over the details summarily, and then we're going to get into the video evidence, in my humble view, of those who instigated this and those who gave the political permission slip to the Afghan national to shoot two National Guardsmen in the streets. This is from Fox News, archived. I'll give everybody the link so you can keep this. Details emerge on CIA unit alleged National Guard shooter served with in Afghanistan. Now, why the CIA unit that he allegedly served with is critical? We're going to go back to Alyssa Slotkin, former, I don't know, whatever her position was at the CIA, because that's the connection that people have to understand. When they put out their 74 seconds of sedition, they're scripted, and that is their word. Public service announcement imploring people to just defy unlawful orders. Well, there's a whole hell of a lot more in Alyssa Slotkin's database of not only fear-mongering to the highest degree, but basically predicting what is going to happen and what in fact happened. The individual at first was identified as, we saw the picture yesterday when we were live, and I said, based on the facial hair, you can come to some conclusions, but hold off and wait for the details. The details are out right now. The man's name was Rahmanullah Lakanwal, worked in CIA's NDS-03 counterterrorism unit before entering the US in 2021. You're going to get into a point now where people are going to, in an attempt to pass the political buck, blame the other side. Everyone's going to say, well, this man came in under Biden. We were told that, everyone coming in from Afghanistan was safe and had been properly vetted. Others are going to say his asylum claim was granted earlier this year under the Trump administration. So Trump has ratified everything and it's all on Trump. You'll argue whichever one you find more plausible, more reasonable. But right now we'll just get some facts out, and I'm going to provide the inventory of Alyssa Slotkin's responsibility for what transpired, in my humble view. The Afghan national accused of shooting two National Guardsmen just blocks from the White House on the day before Thanksgiving served in an elite CIA counterterrorism unit in Afghanistan, according to new details that emerged Thursday about the suspect's background. Rahmanullah Lakanwal, 29, served in Afghanistan with the NDS-03, an elite unit operated by the CIA with direct U.S. intelligence and military support, according to Afghan EVAC, a nonprofit that works with Afghans on special immigrant visas. His unit operated in Afghanistan's southern region, Kandahar, Helmand, and Uruzgan, one of the former compound of the late Taliban leader Mullah Omar, commonly referred to as Mullah Omar. NDS-03 was one of about 5 paramilitary groups working with the CIA. They were commonly called Zero units due to the numbers following their National Directorate and Security, NDS, or Afghan intelligence. Okay. Afghan members of the unit were highly vetted and trained by the CIA and carried out some of the toughest counterterrorism missions against the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, and others. They were very trusted and brave, according to those who worked with them. Well, this might explain why the individual got asylum under the Trump administration. It might also explain, based on the inventory of stuff that we're going to go through with Alyssa Slotkin, how this individual became radicalized against the very administration that granted his asylum, and why he went out and shot National Guardsmen in particular. He entered the U.S. legally in 2021 under humanitarian parole as part of the Biden administration's Operation Allies Welcome that followed the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan. The operation aimed to support and resettle vulnerable Afghans because they would have faced persecution and retribution had they stayed in Afghanistan, including those that had helped U.S. troops in the past. He had his asylum application approved in April 2025 under the Trump administration. U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, Janine Pirro, FBI Director, criticized the vetting process during a press conference on Thursday. Pirro said the shooting was an example of what happens in this country when people are allowed in who are not properly vetted. Patel said the Biden administration allowed thousands of people into this country without doing a single piece of background checking or vetting. He began working with the CIA in 2011 when he was 15 years old. You're getting confirmation of the MO of the CIA, using children as assets who added that the CIA would have kept the identities of those they worked with secret. Officials noted it was common at the time for Afghans to forge their birth certificates to appear 18 before working with the U.S. government. Few official records. Yeah, it's normal for them to forge birth certificates, whatever. But when people are coming en masse from foreign countries, you then rely on those same documents in order to admit them at the southern border. I mean, this is the whole argument, that you can't take people in from countries where you can't properly vet their background, even if they're claiming asylum. Oh, well, I mean, in Haiti, the documentation system is all crappy, so you can't penalize them. Take them in and whatever they show you. NCTC vet, okay, whatever. In terms of vetting, nothing came up. Senior official, he was clean on all checks. The senior official added that the U.S. government had been doing continuous annual vetting since the Afghans' arrival in the U.S., especially in the wake of the foiled terror plot in Oklahoma before last year's elections, which involved an Afghan evacuee. He's accused of shooting National Guardsman Sarah Beckstrom. She's the one who I believe is now going to pass if she's not brain dead, because I believe unsustainable injuries. And Andrew Wolf, who from last I understood was critical but stable. Pirro said the suspect ambushed the pair in a targeted attack. The suspect was then shot by a responding guardsman and subdued. He was hospitalized and placed under heavy guard. What I understand also from what happened is that a National Guardsman armed with a knife, this is what I understood, and maybe the details have changed, but charged at the man, apparently stabbed him and assisted in subduing him. That is what you call an absolute hero. Who is not the hero in all of this is the person who, in my humble view, basically instigated this, if not outright planned it. Let's just go back all the way to the beginning. Back in the day when there were concerns that this would happen. This is from The Hill, September 1st, 2021. That is 4 years ago. Press Sec Jen Psaki on Afghan refugees. I can absolutely assure you that no one is coming into the United States of America who has not been through a thorough screening and background check process. And let's hear Madam Circleback Psaki say it in her own words.
You've talked about this a little bit, others have as well, but there are, of course, concerns among lawmakers, experts who've tracked this. They're saying previous arrivals of large numbers of refugees from different parts of the world, inevitably there may be a small handful who are eventually deemed a security risk of some kind. What reassurances can you make about the screening process and the attempts to make sure that somebody like that doesn't make his or her way here?
I can absolutely assure you that no one is coming into the United States of America who has not been through a thorough screening and background check process. And there are many individuals, as you noted, who have not been through that process, and they have gone to lily pad countries as that process has been completed. It doesn't mean that that's because there's a flag. It means they have not completed their paperwork, and we were working to save tens of thousands of people. Hence, we evacuated them to these third countries.
And then on you've talked about this a little bit, others have as well, but there are, of course, concerns among lawmakers, experts.
I want to get this off. How do I find her?
Get
away, Dan. We don't want to see this again. So, yeah, it's a thorough vetting process. I mean, that's all subjective. And the reality is that the individual might have gone through a thorough vetting process. He might have been very thankful to the Biden administration. He might have been actually indebted to the Biden administration. He might have actually been so indebted to the Biden administration that when one of Biden's useful idiots, Alyssa Slotkin, basically mobilizes people with their public service announcement, he feels sufficiently indebted to act on what I said at the time was a thinly veiled dog whistle call to disobedience. We're going to go through pretty much a number of these statements that Alyssa made. Alyssa was one of the many, one of the six, the seditious six. So that's actually much better, but I don't think I made that one up. She was one of the seditious six in that public service announcement. Well, we were just telling people to defy that they don't have to abide by lawful orders. They know damn well what they were doing. They know damn well what they did, and they knew damn well what the likely outcome of it was. But if you had any questions about that, any doubts, this is Alyssa Slotkin. Days ago, National Guardsmen will start shooting at American civilians. Listen to this. I put together a bit of a montage after this. We'll play that. But this is Alyssa Slotkin. Fairly certain. Yeah, this was actually after the seditious, the 2 minutes of sedition. That I made up, and that one's good. This is her trying to justify it. Well, we're just telling them to defy unlawful orders because I'm fairly certain, I'm very fearful that soon National Guardsmen the ones that we claim are illegally deployed across cities in America, they're going to start shooting civilians.
Look at these videos coming out of places like Chicago. It makes me incredibly nervous that we're about to see people in law enforcement, people in uniform military get nervous, get stressed, shoot at American civilians. It is a very, very stressful situation for these law enforcement and for the communities on the ground. So it was basically a warning to say, like, if you're asked to do something, particularly against American citizens, look at these videos coming out of
It was. Well, listen to what she says, by the way. That it's going to happen, not it might. I'm concerned that
places like Chicago. It makes me incredibly nervous that we're about to see people in law.
It makes me incredibly nervous that we are about to see law enforcement shoot at civilians. That's why they put out the national, that seditious call to action. Here's the link to the tweet. So that was in an attempt to justify the 2 minutes of sedition. Well, we had to do it because we're going to start seeing National Guardsmen and law enforcement shooting at civilians. Well, holy crap. Holy crap. Someone who might be sufficiently indebted to the Biden administration, sufficiently easily manipulated. I mean, imagine the CIA got him when he was 15 years old. They've been using him under the Biden administration. They brought him in under the Biden administration. They then brainwash him and tell him that the Trump administration is going to start deporting all Afghans. They're going to start deporting. They're going to bring in ICE, start shooting people on the streets. I made a meme. I'll show you the meme. But listen to this one. When was this one from? Yeah, I'm going to play it anyhow. Let's get this here.
A lot of people got upset about the video. And let me just say, they are trying to wield fear. Look at these videos coming out of places like Chicago. It makes me incredibly nervous that we're about to see people in law enforcement, people in uniform military get nervous, get stressed, shoot at American civilians. It is a very, very stressful situation for these law enforcement and for the communities on the ground. So it was basically a warning. They are trying to wield fear. Look, if you're going back to Nuremberg, right? This is about who we are as Americans and how we're going to engage with people who we disagree with. They don't want to be talking about the deployment of the military in our streets, the deployment of federal law enforcement in our streets. We're about to see people in law enforcement, people in uniform military get nervous, get stressed, shoot at American civilians. They don't want to have that public conversation because they know it goes to the heart of who we are as Americans, as a democracy. Senator Alyssa Slotkin, former CIA officer,
want to speak directly to members of the military
and the intelligence community can refuse illegal orders. But whether you're serving in the CIA, and know that we have your back. I need you to stand up for our laws. Don't give up the ship.
That was obviously my montage of clips from Alyssa Slotkin. I mean, you imagine you're a vulnerable person. We are not a democracy. It's a constitutional republic. It's in the terminology, we know what we're saying. You imagine that you're someone who's thoroughly brainwashed by the Biden administration. You believe it's an existential threat to yourself. You believe it's an existential threat to the civilians around you. And you see Alyssa Slotkin of the CIA invoking her status within the CIA, appealing to the intelligence community with basically 2 minutes of hate public service announcement that if you don't do something, they're going to start killing you in the streets. And then what do? I'll tell you what you do. Exactly like what they knew that was going to happen. This was the meme that I made. It's a television. You can refuse illegal orders and know that we've got your back. This one was a little bit small. I hope people can still read it. But whether you're the serving in the CIA, hashtag mobilized. What's truly amazing is that as you start to dig into these things and really like go into the weeds and everything makes much more sense backwards. It's the old Kierkegaardian expression, life can only be understood backwards, yet it must be lived forwards. I'm going to play you this clip. This was from a speech that Alyssa Slotkin gave before the Brookings Institute barely a month ago. Like understand it. It's barely a month ago that this is what Alyssa Slotkin said in a speech that's available on her YouTube page. You can go look at it, at least for now. I don't think they're going to take it down, but listen to this. And just I'll preface it by saying that once you understand that what they are expressing is not their fears of what their adversaries are going to do, but rather their intentions of what they are going to do and are in the process of doing and have done. Once you understand that it's confession through projection, they're not telling you what they actually fear their adversary is going to do. They're telling you what they're in the process of trying to do. When you understand that, it makes a whole hell of a lot more sense. Listen to this.
As a CIA officer, the idea that intelligence officers could be asked to target Americans turns my stomach, and it would shift us into a modern-day surveillance state. Turning the federal government against Trump's enemies goes hand in hand with his use of force in American cities, both federal law enforcement and the military. As of today, the president has attempted to deploy more than 7,000 National Guard members across 5 cities, including right here in Washington. In August, the administration ordered the creation of 2 new National Guard units, a standing quick reaction force that can deploy anywhere in the country, and then separately, National Guard units in all 50 states focused on quelling so-called civil disturbances.
She's suggesting that this is illegal. Just understand that.
At this point, Trump has been very clear about his intent. At Quantico, speaking as commander-in-chief, he instructed his military brass to use cities as, quote, training grounds. And many times, he's floated the idea of invoking the Insurrection Act so that military units can raid, detain, and arrest Americans.
Do you remember who actually floated using the Insurrection Act? Jamie Raskin. We're going to have civil war conditions. They're not going to like it. After we tell them that despite having won the election, we're annulling those results. They said that.
The president has already deployed ICE and other federal law enforcement to these same cities across America. In some cases, these federal officers are playing fast and loose with their tactics, which sooner or later could lead to a deadly escalation.
Listen to this.
The videos out of Chicago are shocking. Federal agents pulling their weapons on highways, firing tear gas into neighborhoods right before a Halloween parade, injuring and even killing civilians.
Injuring and killing civilians.
Many are masked, not wearing uniforms, and driving unmarked cars. For those of us who served abroad, it feels like another country. And it's only a matter of time before things get worse.
It's almost like she's talking directly to the alleged shooter.
By my estimation, we're about 2 weeks away from a bloody incident that spirals out of control. And this is just the kind of incident that Trump wants to justify more force coming in.
Can you appreciate that? This was about a month ago.
It feels like another country. And it's only a matter of time before things get worse.
A month ago.
By my estimation, we're about 2 weeks away from a bloody incident that spirals out of control. And this is just the kind of incident that Trump wants to justify more force coming in.
Well, if you wanted to make Trump do things that would allow you to call him an authoritarian, well, then what you'd want to do is mobilize some of your folks to kill National Guardsmen who you've suggested are in the streets illegally, on the cusp of killing innocent civilians. You'd want someone to do that, and then Trump would have to then respond, and then you get to say, look at what an authoritarian Trump is, the way he's responding to a terrorist attack that just killed 2 National Guardsmen after we spent the last month suggesting and overtly stating that National Guardsmen are going to kill civilians because of how out of control they are. She actually said that a month ago. She's CIA, puts out that public service announcement appealing to members of the intelligence community, and lo and behold, an Afghan national who worked with the CIA in Afghanistan does what he does yesterday. I mean, if that doesn't raise some hackles, and if that doesn't make you appreciate what is potentially going on, nothing will. And then, by the way, after they carry out this attack, I'm going to end it by highlighting some of the most repulsive responses to it. Some of the most terroristic responses to the murder and shooting yesterday. I legit, first of all, it's not legal, so don't give legal any flack for this. This is another legal. Hot takes on the law, the military, my dogs, and lunch. Now, I'm also sometimes skeptical that some of these accounts are fake accounts intended to create further divide, and which is why I'm almost reluctant to put these on blast, but too late, legal. That, for everybody who can't read Hebrew, that says Am Yisrael Chai, and then something in Russian. Fascism disguised as patriotism is still fascism. Listen to this take. If you're the governor of the state that sent this soldier to DC, you should meet with his family face to face and explain why you sent him here for this. Let me give everybody that tweet. Let me rephrase that one in the way that it's actually to be understood. If you're the father of a young woman who gets brutally assaulted in a bar, you should look at your daughter and ask her why she went to that bar. I mean, this is the terrorism ideology. Don't put your people in a place where we're going to kill them, because when we kill them, it's going to be their fault. That is terrorism. You know who has to look into the eyes of the family is Alyssa Slotkin. Is everyone else the seditious six? And you think it's just like a one-off. There can't be more than one actual filthy endorser of terrorism out there. Look what you made me do. Just keep your National Guardsmen out of our cities and we'll stop shooting them. We'll stop deploying our rogue agents to kill them. We'll stop using our brown shirts to sniper them. Stop doing it and you'll save yourself. Terrorism. Here's another one. Adam Cochran. I mean, the amazing thing is, I've seen this guy, investor, professor, policy consultant, independent investigative journalist. He says that in response to Legal, that is perhaps the most tragic moment in all of this. No matter why this shooting happened, these National Guard members were unnecessarily in DC. 2 people shot dead, serving their country in the line of duty that their governor shouldn't have placed them in the first place. Can you imagine the balls and the lack of insight that it takes to say such a thing? Don't put them there, and that way they won't get killed by terrorists. Everyone's happy. We've successfully deterred you from bringing in National Guards despite our wishes by claiming that they're illegally there. And we won't kill you. Just stay away from us and we won't kill you. And that's how federal law works. Scum of the earth. Who think that they're righteous and who think that they're justified. Anyhow, that's what we know as of now. I don't think I've missed anything. That's where things stand as of now. There will be answers to questions that will need to be provided. At this point, it's not beyond the pale to suggest that people should be held legally accountable for their seditious words that arguably, but less than arguably, contributed to this event. And we'll find out more as it comes through. Who this guy was in communications with in the lead up to this. There was a report from, what's his name? I need to get it. There was a claim on Twitter that search results or Google search for the individual's name had an unexpected uptick in the hours before the shooting. I'm not running on this. If it's true, it's very, very bizarre, and I'm looking for a logical, plausible explanation that doesn't involve even deeper conspiracy theories. Louis Montoya says, breaking thread. The DC Guardsman shooting isn't adding up. Shooter Rahmanullah, CIA-backed Kandahar Strike Force vet, per leaked ID, and Ratcliffe in a Fox News interview confirmed his ties to the CIA as part of our partner force in Kandahar based on declassified intel briefings. Ambushed 2 unarmed guardsmen at 2:15 yesterday, yelling Allahu Akbar. Critical but alive. But Google Trends, his name spiked in DC at 2:24 a.m., 84 interest, 3:28 a.m., 100, 8 a.m., 22, hours before shots fired. Foreknowledge we need to subpoena the IPs. Now, I'll go through the evidence. I don't know how Google Trends, Google Analytics works. I don't know how they aggregate data. I don't know how they lump data together. I can read what this says, November 25th, and you've got the name in quotes, and then you got the name not in quotes, and I suspect because this is going to be the exact match, and this is going to be one or the other. And then after this is the attack in the afternoon. Okay, then we got another one here. Same type of trend. Oh, the lines. Okay, so the lines, I get it, are different. So the orange line here is when it's not the exact match, and then the blue line is with the exact match. And then we've got 8 a.m., and these are the 3. So The question that I have publicly, and I've asked the Louis Montoya, is did you account for time zone changes? And apparently, yes, time zone changes have been accounted for. The question that I'm not sure about is whether or not there is, if they lump together the data, say like anyone who searched between X hours, I don't know, it gets lumped at a time that might actually predate the actual time of the search results. I'm curious to know if anybody out there who understands how this works, period, but certainly better than me, has a non-conspiratorial explanation for that. The logical explanation that I can come up with, not based on any technological knowledge, is the man might have gone AWOL. From what I understand, he might have been living with family, sleeping at a cousin's house. And if he might have been suspicious AWOL and the family disclosed it to authorities, then you could, in theory, imagine some form of law enforcement looking up the guy's name, trying to find his whereabouts, trying to find some intel on him. So there might have been a tip that this individual was on the verge, said something suspicious, and then took off. And so you have law enforcement or family or friends Googling to see if they can find some results. That's what I can think of by way of a logical explanation if the data is accurate. But I don't even know if the data is accurate. That's what we know as of now.